Okay, kids, so I have a question, and it's one that I've pondered for actually a meaningful amount of time, which is, when did tritium become lame? Right? Like, I feel like if we rewind the times, at least a decade, and probably sooner than that, but if you go back a decade, I feel like everyone ran tritium on their pistols. And why do I feel like now it's like cool kids only run fiber optic front sights with blacked out rear sights? I feel like I've missed something on the memo. Now, I will tell you, where I learned how to shoot was kind of a goofy school that I realize now in retrospect. But when they described tritium to me, it was so enticing because they described it as like radioactive material that they put in sights, which I guess technically is true. But doesn't it sound way more cool when it's like, hey, you've got like nuclear radioactive sights, like the shit should be illegal? Like, that sounds way more enticing to me than like, yeah, they glow in the dark. It's like, oh fuck, my watch glows in the dark. But radioactive sights, that sounds very, very intriguing. But here's what I've seen. So tritium sights, like, we've got a couple varieties here. So like the ones that are on this 19, so we've just got 2 dots in the rear, 1 dot in the front. And in all fairness, even though this is a carry gun for me sometimes and it's got a good ledge and all that kind of stuff, I could make a case I don't have a bright dot that I'm picking up during the day. But if you look at, and these are a little bit older, I mean, this gun was from circa, I don't know, 2013. Yeah, 2013, something like that. But if the thing is, if you look at some of the new tritium, so like these are just the stock sights on a SIG 365. And again, same thing, you got 2 dots in the rear, but the dot that's on the front of that, to me, is almost like the perfect combination of a front sight, because I've got tritium. And if I'm being honest, if it's a gun that I carry, I like tritium. Like, I do. Maybe do I sound like an old boomer saying that? Like, I kind of like tritium on a carry gun because, hey, look, there's a decent shot that if I'm in some encounter, it's going to happen at night, or in a dark vehicle or whatever the kid, not because I'm, like doing shady shit, just because, like something went down and it's night and I'm in a vehicle and whatever. So, these Tritium HD sights to me might be like the perfect sight these days because, hey, look, I've got a really just bright green sight for during the day picking up that is, equally as good as a fiber optic front sight, but I've got the benefit of tritium at night. And what most people, I'd say, are running these days is something like that, which is going to be a rear, blacked out sight and a fiber optic front sight, which, hey, I'll 100% concede during the day. If I'm out here plinking around during the day, that's ideal. I like it. There's nothing distracting me in the rear. It draws my eyes to the front. I've got a nice bright, in this case, green post. Cool. I'm with you. But at night, this thing sucks to me. And I guess the counter argument to what I'm saying here, which is I don't know that tritium's that lame, the counter argument, I suppose, would be, well, even though, yes, this becomes completely useless at night and I have no sight picture, they're like, well, look, guaranteed you would have to run a light on any carry pistol or bedside pistol. It's like, okay, I get that. My counter argument would be, hey, look, if this is a bedside gun, hey, look, I know my house well enough that, like, I don't even necessarily need, like, I know my house well enough that as long as I have tritium sights, I can maneuver through my house without having to necessarily turn on a light. So, I don't know. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to it, but to me, tritium at night, which is in large part when I would likely need it for a self-defense pistol, becomes rather useless. Now, the only other alternative I will throw at you is, because it's something that I don't think many people use, is, well, what about a gold bead or gold dot front sight? I haven't fully fallen in love with this particular front sight just because to me the gold dot is a little too big, where if I was shooting, let's say past, 25, 50, somewhere in that range, the dot's just a little too big for me. But the theory behind this to me is actually perfect because it's very bright during the day. It's like having a trit or a fiber or something on the end of your gun. So it's very, very bright during the daytime, But in low light, that thing will pick up any light that it has access to and use it to, not reflect off of, but you know what I mean. It'll kind of, you know, use that ambient light to its advantage. So in pure darkness, yeah, it's not going to be much good to you, but it's definitely better than a fiber. The only thing I would change is maybe doing a smaller dot. But beyond that, I'm actually quite a fan of those gold dots. They're pretty neat. So I posed the question to you, and you can chime in the comments and all that good stuff. When did tritium become lame? Or am I maybe onto something and it actually makes sense? See you in the comments.